Hello everyone, welcome to this video. In this video, we are going to cover a very important topic called data type. So we start with little bit theories on Python data types, and we are going to use a presentation to describe that. And then we'll straight jump into Jupyter Notebook, where we'll see codes and hands-on on the different data types, and to explain the concept on the Python data types, and we'll see various examples of different data types. I will share this notebook and code with you all so that you can refer to this later. I will put the shared link in the channel description section. Please feel free to download it. If you are new in this channel and not subscribed yet, then please click the subscribe button, as I upload new videos every week and you will get notified. As you see, we need to cover a lot. Let's jump in. When you are working on a project, it's very important that you understand what type of data you are working with so that you process the data efficiently in correct format to make sure that you do not get any errors and you get optimal performance from your code. That's why data types are so important. In Python, we have four major data types like none, numeric or numbers, dictionary, and sequence types. None in Python is a keyword used to define a null value. And numeric data types, you can divide numeric data types in four subcategories like integer, like 4, 10, 40, minus 9, all these numbers. Float, like 3.5, 7.6, the decimal numbers, 1.3, complex, and Boolean. Boolean is nothing but true and false. Dictionary is nothing but the key and value pairs. Like here, I give an example like car dictionary, which has a brand is the key and value is the Ford. So that is called dictionary. And sequence data types, these are very important, like list, set, tuple, and range. Although I'm going to discuss all these data types in this video, but I will create separate videos for list, set, tuple, and dictionary data types, because these are very important and we need to cover this in great detail. So let's start our discussion with none type. So here you see the none keyword is used to define a null value or no value at all. When you have a variable and that variable is not assigned with any value, that's called none. In other language you use a keyword null, but in Python we use none. This none is not same as zero or false or empty string. None is a data type of its own. It's called a none type. Let's say how we define this. If you see this line here, we are defining the none value or none type value to a variable x. So we define like x equal to none. Now let's execute it, and then if we execute the next line, that type, we know the type method gives you the type of the value which is assigned to the variable x. It tells us is a none type. Now let's look into the numeric data types, and we will start the numeric data type discussion with integer. So integer is nothing but whole numbers like 2, 3, 4, 10, 14, 40, 80, 100, 1000. It can be negative also, minus 10, minus 20, minus 30, and there is no length limit. It can be as big as possible. The only thing, it has to be whole number. There should not be any decimal. So here in this line, we are showing how you define integer. I have a whole number 4. I'm assigning that 4 number to the x variable, and that you can do that in Python, right? So previously I have a none type assign none value assigned to the x variable. Now I am assigning the value 4 into the same variable x. That's okay with Python. Now let's do that. X equal to 4, and then next assigning minus 10, which is a negative value, negative whole number, to the variable y. Now if I see the type, it says that it's integer type, like int. X is an integer type, y is an integer type. Next one is float. So float is a number which has one or more decimal. What's the difference between integer and float? Integer is a whole number like 2, 4, 10, 14, but float is here is a decimal values always like 3.45, 6.5, 3.0, 8.9, and there should be some decimal values. There can be one decimal value or there can be multiple decimal values. That doesn't matter. And again, float also can be positive or negative. Here again, for example, how you assign a float number. Here I have a float number, decimal value number 3.45, and I'm assigning it to the variable x. Let's run this line. And now if we see the type of that x now, previously it was int because their value was a whole number 4, but here now assign a decimal value to the x. Now if I run this type x, it will tell me it's the float type. Same another variable, say y, where I'm assigning another decimal value minus 7.0, but this time the decimal value is negative. If I run that and if I see the type, that also says a float. Now hope you understand that what's the difference between integer and float. One is a whole number, and this is a decimal number. Now next is how you can convert. You have, say you have a float number, okay, with you. So for example x now I have a 3.45 assigned there, right, which is float. Now you can convert this float to integer. How you do it? So what you need to do is you just need to use the int function, and you pass your variable there. Here I am passing the int function. I am passing the x variable there, which has now assigned to a 3.45, and I am storing that value again to the x, and then I'm seeing what I'm printing the x here to see what actually present into x. Now it become 3, so it removed the 0.45 decimal points here and it become integer. Now if you see the type of x, you will see it's integer. So currently now you have x have the 3 value, which is now integer. Now you same way you can convert an integer to float. Now let's say when you convert to integer to float, you just need to pass that x variable to the float function, like I'm passing here in this line. So if you run this, it becomes 3.0. So it has a now decimal point. And if you see the type, now it's a float type. Now I am assigning a value like 3.2 to the x. Let's assign it. So now x becomes 3.2. Now one point I want to cover here, that all the numeric types like integer, float, complex, Boolean, these all are immutable. Immutable means that you cannot change the value of this variable. You cannot modify the value. What that means? If you remember in the already we learned into that video for the variable videos, we discussed thoroughly that how variables store variable values, how the values store into the memory location, right? And we have seen that time the id method gives us the id of the specific memory location where the object or the value stored in the memory. So for example, now x variable now assigned to a value 3.2, right? Now if I pass the x variable in the id function, that it will give us a unique id of the memory location where the 3.2 value stored. Now we have a unique id of that memory location, this one. Now as I said, all numeric types are immutable. You cannot change the value. To prove that point, if I now assign a different value like 4 to the same variable x, and let's do that first. And now we have 4 assigned to variable x. Now again, if I pass that x variable in the id function and get the memory location id for the x variable, I will see now the memory location has been changed. See, previously what this was, this memory location 9120, the last one, now is become 3304. It's a different memory location. That means that proves the point that these numeric types are immutable, that you cannot change the value, because as soon as you change the value of the these variables, then what happens is it changes the memory location address also. It's considered as a new object, new value, and it has a separate memory location which has a separate unique ID. Hope you understand this point. Now next numeric data types we are going to discuss here is the complex data type. Please specify a real number and an imaginary number. So if you remember in mathematics, we have a concept called complex number, and we represent that concept number like a plus bi. Here we in the instead of I, when you in the Python, in the computer, when you represent a complex number, instead of I you need to represent the complex number with j. Here j is the imaginary number. Say if you see this example here, I am assigning a imaginary number 3 plus 7j to the variable x. Let's run it, and if you see the type of it, you'll see it's a complex number, complex data type, because the j is the imaginary number. Now you can also create complex number with the constructor also, that this constructor called as a complex, where you need to pass the real number and a imaginary number. Say let's run this one, and it's assigning to a variable y. You see how it represents 9 plus 23j, because the first place when in the complex number constructor, first one I am passing the argument is 9, that is the real number, and 23 is the imaginary number. So when I printing the y, you see how it written, the 9 is the, as I said, the normal real number, and 23 is the imaginary number. So 23 has a j associated with it. So j is the imaginary number. Now if you see the type of y variable, it says it complex. Next one, what we are going to cover is Boolean. Boolean represent nothing but true or false. True is based on some decision or condition. So in our real life, we always are taking some decision or condition. Like say you have a variable which has a value assigned to 10, and you have a call x variable, and it has a assigned value 10, and we have a y variable which has a assigned value 4. Now from here you can easily see the x is greater than 4. Now you write that in an expression, and like let's say we have a this expression called x greater than y, and I am storing the value of this expression to a expression exp variable. Now if someone tell you x is greater than y, and you know the x is 10 and y is 4, then you will say it is true, right? You are saying correct, it's right, 10 is greater than 4. So that's actually happen when you use this expression. The return value always is true or false. So if x is 10 and y is 4, so actually if the x is greater than y, then the return value will be true. If you run this, so now x has a 10 and y is a 4, and when we run the expression, we got the true value. Now if you check the type of this expression variable, it's a Boolean. Now another example, say you have an expression 1 exp1, and here you are doing the x less than y. Is it correct? If I ask you, x is 10 and y is 4, and x is 10 never less than 4, right? It's a false. So if you run it, you get a false. It's a Boolean value. But now you may ask question, so you are saying Boolean is true and false, then why you are keeping in a numeric type? Because in Python, in true we consider 1 and false we consider 0. Let's see in the example. Say we already have a exp which is Boolean value and true, and we have exp1 which is Boolean value and false, right? Now if we convert it with the integer with the int function, for exp which is true we'll get 1, and with exp1 which is false we'll get 0. Now hope you understand, right, why we consider Boolean value as a numeric type. Now let's look into the sequence data types in Python. So it is a type which store more than one items at a time. So you can say that it's a collection of items or data. Moreover, to access these items, each item has a particular index number. An index number in Python or computer always starts with 0. And here we are going to, in Python, we are going to discuss the 5 sequence data types like string, list, set, tuple, and range. Let's start our sequence data type with strings. Okay. So string in Python is always surrounded by either a single quote, double quote, or triple quotes. So here, say we have defining a string called str. By the way, you use this string lot of time previously, right? Like when you are printing something and we are passing string arguments there. So we always pass the strings with the quotation mark, right? And quotation marks, as I said, it can be double quotation mark, single quotation mark, or triple quotation mark. All three are allowed with Python. So here, first one, we are giving an example with the double quotation marks. We are passing a string called hello, how are you? And we are assigning this string value to the str variable. Next one, we are assigning the same string with a single quotation mark with a str1 variable. And next one is the same hello, how are you? This particular string we are assigning to str2, but this time we are using the triple quotation mark. Now, if we print the type of all this str, str1, and str2, it will tell me that all are the string type. Okay, don't worry about this class thing. Class we will going to look into later point of time when we will discuss the object-oriented programming. We will have a separate multiple videos on that. But at this point of the concentrate on here, all this one different str, str1, and str2 all are strings. Now, as I said, I mean, for any sequence type, you can access each of the item with the index number. So index number always start with 0. Now see, if you take this example str, here we have a hello, how are you? Now you want to access the first L in the hello. Okay. So if we index number start with 0, then first will be 0, that is H, then 1 will be E, and then L will be 2, then next second L will be 3, next will be O, and this in this string the white space also has an index number. So its list goes on. But the point is you can access each of the letter in the string with the index number, and index starts with 0 from left. So if we are going to access the first L in the hello, then we should 0, 1, 2. So see, we are accessing this like str, then in the third bracket 2. Now print it. See, we are able to get the L here, the first L. Hope it clears to you. Now, let's have another string where we have only one character. In other languages, you have another data type called character when you have a one letter. But in Python, we do not have any data type called character, considered as a string. So if I run this one, and if you see the type, it will tell it's again a string. Next one, we are going to discuss list. It's a very important data type in Python. But so when you run, write big programs and real-time programs, you are going to heavily use this list. So list again is a sequence data type. It stores multiple items in a single variable, and as any sequence data type, it stores a collection of data or collection of items. And one thing you need to remember, list is mutable. That means you can change the items in the list without changing its ID. ID means the unique ID of the memory location. So if the memory location ID remains same and you are changing the value of that in the items of a value in that data type, then it's a mutable, right? You can change the value. That's called mutable. And another point is for list is it allows duplicate values. All the values in the list are indexed and it starts with 0. So first example, if you see in here that x equal to, and I give an example like 4, 7, 3, 9, 4.5, 4, 7, and hello. If you consider the example, and if you look into it very closely, you will understand that here I am using different types of values, right? First, in the list different items, I am first use some of the integer like 4739. Then I use a decimal value, that is float type. Again I repeat this 4 and 7 again, because I said list can have duplicate values. So 4 and 7 I am repeating. Previously we have 4 7, again I am repeating 4 7 here, and then I am passing a string data type. That means you can define a list with multiple different data types like string, integer, float, anything. So now how you define a list? You put all these values separated by commas and put into a third bracket. Now let's print that X list here, and we get the list here. And as I mentioned, that list allowed multiple data types in the all together. And here we use integer, float, and the string. And also it allowed the duplicate values because 4 or 7 is repeated here. Right? Now if you see the type of this X variable now, you'll see it's a list. Okay, so that is list. Now, as I mentioned, that you can access the different items from the any sequence type. List is not an exception also, that you can retrieve the different items from the list. How? With the index value, right? So here, for example, you want to retrieve this value 7 here. So what is the index here? If we start with 0, then first 0 index is a 4, 1 index is a 7, 2 index is a 3, 9 goes on, right? So if I now want to access the first index, the 0 1, the 7, then it will be 0 1, that index 1. So X, and then in the bracket is 1, then I get 7. Hope you're clear that how you can retrieve different items from the list. Now we had to, and we said that list you can change the items value in the list. It's mutable. So to prove the point, let's first get a ID of the X current list, and we have the ID now 30080. Now let's try to change the value of one of the item in the list. See, in the index 1 position we have 7. Now I'm changing 7 to 8. So how you change it? Very easy, that you use that index position 1 and you assign the new value there. Now I am assigning value 8 here. See, the value got changed. Now the second value, that is the index 1 position value, is 8 now. Great. Now after the value got changed, if I again take the ID of it, you see the ID didn't change. Previously it was the ID, same ID here. Previously it was 30080. Now also here the 30080 end with. So that proves that list is mutable. So you can change the items value in the list without changing the memory location address. Now next one we see is another very popular function we use in list, that is the length function. That is we call len, len, len. What it gives us the length of the list. For example, here in this list, what's the length of the list? We have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8 items. So if I pass this X variable, that list, in the length method, I should get the 8 because it has 8 items in the list. See, we got the 8. Another one is we are going to see now. We have seen that how you create a list. You create a list with you assign all this value in the third bracket and assign to a variable, right? Like that you can create a list. There is another method also. You can create list with the constructor, and the constructor is called list list. So when you use the constructor, you remember you need to put 2 parentheses here. Start with 2 parentheses and then end with 2 parentheses, and in between you put all the values you want to put as an item in the list. So here I am creating a list L, where I assign this L variable to this list, where I have the constructor list, and there I put all these values 3, 4, 10 and high. If I now run it, I got the list here 3, 4, 10 and high. If I see the type of it, it tells it's a list. Another very popular function we can see in this tutorial, that is append, which is again a function of list. What it does is it add a new value in the last of end of the list. So here I am appending a value called string value called hello. Let's append it on the list L. Now currently list is ends with hi. Now if I append it and print it, now the last value after hi, the new value appended, that is hello. Okay, here we just see a very brief overview of list. We have seen few functions only in the list, but list has a lot of numerous functions and very important functions which are you are going to use day to day when you do the programming in Python. So list is very important. So that's why I'm going to cover list into another video separately, where I will discuss all the nitty-gritty details of the list. But for this particular video where we are covering all the data types together, so I hope it gives a fair understanding, a good understanding of list to you. Now we are going to discuss about set, which is again another built-in data types which store collection of data in Python, and it's used to store multiple items in a single variable. Now where the set differentiate with other is set always store unique values and it's immutable. So for example, if you are creating a set and you pass the duplicate values, then also what set will do is set will create with the only the unique values on the value you passed it. So that is a good use case here. So here if you see the example here, again I am assigning the set values to a variable x. Now how you define a set? You can define a set with the curly braces. So you start the set with the defining the set with the curly braces, and you put your all the values or items with commas, and then you close the curly braces. Now if I print it, you see that one thing before I print it, if you notice that here by knowingly I am just to prove that set is always take the unique values. Prove that point, I passing few values which are duplicate, like 4 and 9 I passed here and I passed here also. So these 4 and 9s are duplicate. But when the set will be created, you will see it's created with only the unique values. It only take the 4 and 9 once. So that is one of the use case of set. Now if you now see the type of this x value, now it's a set type. Now again another point was the set is immutable. So list was mutable, you can change the list items value, but for set you cannot. And by the way, you can access access the items in the set in the same way like other sequence types. Just you need to pass the index number. Now in this one, what are the index number? The first index number start with 0, then 1, 2 and 3. And the third index number we have 9. I want to change this 9 value to 10. But in theoretically, set will not allow us to do that because set is immutable. But let's try. But we should get error, right? Boom. Yeah. See, we got the error, and that is that was as per our understanding, we should get the error because set is immutable. Now here I created a set and given an example that I gave example with the set with the only the integer values. But set is same like list. It can have integer, it can have decimal or string or boolean, any mix of these values also in creating a set. For example, here I am creating a set y where I am passing all different types of value, like I am passing an integer, I am passing a decimal, then I am passing a boolean, and I also passing a string. Let's pass it, print it. See, I create a set here. Now if you see the type of it, it's a set. Now I already showed you how you can create a set with the curly braces. Another way also you can create set with the set constructor, and the set constructor is the signature is set, then 2 parentheses. Start with 2 parentheses and end with 2 parentheses. So here I am creating a set which with a variable s, where I passing value car, house and city, but just let's print it. Yeah, I got the set like car, city and house. If I see the type of it, it confirms that I got a set only with this constructor. Next one we are going to discuss is tuple. Tuple is again another built-in type, data types, which stores data, collection of data. It also used to store multiple items in a single variable as other sequence types, which is normal for a sequence type. But where list and tuple differ with each other is list was mutable, right? But tuple is immutable. The primary difference between tuples and list is that tuples are immutable as opposed to list, which are mutable, where you can change the value. But in tuple, you cannot change the value. So how you assign define a tuple? You define a tuple with the parenthesis. In list, we define list with the bracket. We define set with the curly braces, and with for tuple we define tuple with the parenthesis. So here I define a tuple x where I pass the value 45794. Okay, the different integers, but it can be mix of any different data types. Like it can be have integer, it can have decimal values or float, it can have boolean, it can have string also. It can have mix of all these things like others. But only condition here is these are immutable. So let's say, let's print this one. So we have a tuple 45794. Now if I see the type of it, it says it's tuple. Now if you want to retrieve the tuple, the same process. Here you just pass the index number. Here I want to access the what your tuple value in the index 1. So I pass the index 1 here and I got the 5. Now you are trying to change this 5 value to 7 in the index 1. But you should not be able to do that because tuple is immutable. But still try it. Yeah, you got the error. And that is what we expected also, because tuple is immutable and we should not able to change the value. As I showed you, you can create tuple with the parenthesis, start and end parenthesis, and in between you pass the values. You can also create the tuple with the constructor too. And again, the tuple constructor is called tuple and starts with two parentheses and end with two parentheses. In between, you pass the different item values, which will create the tuple. So you see here tuple and then double parenthesis values, and then closing the parenthesis. And here you notice that I am mixing the values here, which I am passing the item values. Here I am passing integer as well as string, just to prove the point that tuple also work like it can have a different mix of data types when you're creating it. So it does. We got the tuple 457. Now let's look into the range data type. This is a very unique data type in Python because you will not see this data type in any other language. It's it's available to Python only. Okay, and this called range. When we intend to have a value like 1 to 10 or 1 to 100, that time we use range. When I have, if you see this example here I write the range and then I in parentheses I wrote 10. When it will create the value, it will create the range 0 to 10. Range always, if we do not mention the start value, range always start with 0, and whatever value you are putting here, passing it, it will end there. So if you run this one, you will get the range from 0 to 10. Now if you see the type of it, you see it's a range. Now you have a question maybe, but it says the range 0 to 10, but I cannot see what are the values present in the range. There are two ways you can see those values. One is a for loop, but till now we didn't cover the for loop in our tutorial series. We are going to cover the for loop in other videos, so I am not going to use for loop here. But what I can show you, you can also see the values of the range with the list function, right? So if you pass your range variable in the list function, it will show you all the values in the range. See, it starts with 0 and end is before 10. Now generally range constructor takes three attributes: start, comma, stop, and stay. Let's see one by one what they are. Now if you see here, this range constructor here, first value which is start with 0 and it stop at 20, before 20, and this is the step. What I'm saying is that you start with 0, then you step with 2, not 1. If you don't give the step 1, this step attribute value, then it will take, by default it takes 1, but as you are mentioning the step here 2, then it will create the range. Like if you run it, you will understand that 0, 2, then you are stepping for 2 numbers here: 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16 and 18. Now if we see the type of y, it says range. Next one, we are going to cover a very important data type. uh, this one also we use extensively in our programs, where we have lot of data with us and we want to access those data very quickly. Then we use a data type called dictionary. Dictionary is nothing but a key and value pairs. So we use to store the data. We use this data type to store data value in key and value pair. Remember, it's not a sequence data type. Dictionary is a key value pair. It does not have index like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 like that. It has a different keys, and for each key it has a value mapped to it. It's a collection. Again, it's a very important collection in Python. It's a built-in important connection where we use this in other language, in different areas in the Python. And another thing is it's mutable. See, you can change the value of the dictionary key. So that's why it's called mutable. And also it allows duplicates too. So let's say an example that then it will be clear to you. Say I have a dictionary called the underscore dict, and here I have and when you define a dictionary, you define with the curly braces, and you put the key first, and then colon, then values, and then comma. You start with the next one, new one, that is the next new key, then again colon, then value. So like this way you define your dictionary. Here fruit is the key and apple is the value. My second key is a vegetable, and vegetable is mapped to the value called okra. Now if you run this one and print it, you see the fruit is apple, fruit key is mapped to the apple value, and vegetable key is mapped to the okra value. Now if you see the type of it, you see the date. Now how to access these values? To access these values, you need to access the value with the key. Now here I have a key like fruit, I have a key like vegetable. So if you want to access the value for the key fruit, then you will use this syntax dictionary, and then in the bracket you will pass your key here. If you run it, you see you get the value of this key mapped with, that is the apple. Next one, another one, let's try the next one. Here I am passing the vegetable key and I get the value okra. Okay. Now we said that it's mutable. That means you can change the value of key in the dictionary. To prove the point, let's first take the ID of the dictionary in the memory location. So in memory location, I have this ID. Now let's try to change the value of key fruit. Okay. So previously fruit was mapped to the apple. Now I'm changing to orange. Okay. And I'm printing it. Now you see the fruit is fruit key value changed to orange. Okay. Now if I see the ID of it, you see the ID didn't change. The memory location ID remains same. So that proves the point that it's a mutable data type. Now there is multiple methods present in this dictionary also, and we are going to cover in the separate videos in detail. But for here, the two very popular, I would say very common methods. One, to access all the keys in the dictionary, you can access it with the dot keys method like this. So it will give you all the keys in the dictionary. Like that, you can also access the values of all the values in the dictionary with the dot values. Hope it's clear to you. And now if you face any issue by understanding these concepts anywhere, please feel free to comment into the comment section, and I'll definitely get back to you. I'll try my best to help you and answer your question there. So till now today we covered a good amount of ground in data types in Python. So let's have a quick summary on it. We started with the concepts of data types, and then we discussed non-data type, and we discussed different numerical data types available in Python like integer, float, complex, Boolean like true, false. That is, and then we covered sequence data types, and in sequence data it specifically covers string, list, set, tuple, and range with multiple example and hands-on for all the data types we covered. And last and not the least, we covered key value pair. This is a very important data type that is called dictionary. If you like this video, please hit the like button and share it with others. If you are new to this channel and not subscribed yet, then please hit the subscribe button so that you will get notified when I upload new content. See you in the next video. Till then, keep learning and happy coding.